me see if I can, let me just try that. Alright, I don't know why, for some reason my chat messages weren't going through. I don't know. I'm trying to put some sort of chat on here. I feel like that would make it look good, but this looks silly. We'll get rid of it. But how's everyone doing? Thanks for coming out. The plan is tonight, I got a few things that I want to go over. Just a few like things on the subreddit, some cool art that I wanted to show off in case you guys haven't seen it. And a little other thing. And then the plan is I'm gonna play some System Shock, which I have not played before, but on one of my posts that I made about streaming, somebody had recommended that I play System Shock 2, and I thought I should probably start with the first one before I jump into that. And maybe there's someone here that has played System Shock, and maybe that's wrong, but that's where I'm going to be starting, at least. And I understand there's a few other elements to it, so that is the plan for right now. And oh, hold on, let me just fix something real quick. Having a little issue here. I'll be right back. I'm back. Sorry about that. We're having some good thunder here. Freaking out dog, so always a fun time. Odin, how's it going, dude? Glad to see you. Simia, okay, so the remake is a good place to start. Awesome. Alright, so let me just jump through this real quick. Alright, so I just wanted to look over here. I saw there was some cool art on here. Yeah, this is nice. Nice little pastel shit going on here. Very cool. Marathon changed me. Marathon 2 broke me. Sliced off my wiener. Wiener grows back. Marathon 4. Tagline, Wiener grows back. Very cool. There's actually a specific thing. Oh, this is funny. I don't know if you guys saw this, but somebody had posted this weird little space. It's a great addition. Throw a compiler in there. But, this. Okay. So, if you haven't heard, this past week, some people went out to Seattle, to Bungie's headquarters, and did a playtest for Marathon. It seemed like it was mostly like Apex streamers this time. I think when they had done the infamous playtest from last year, where the kind of rumor was that everybody who played it was not a fan, I think that was mostly Tarkov streamers. But it seems like they had a little thing. I saw Bon had posted about it on his YouTube channel. Made a community post. But I saw a picture where there were a few people that had gone out there. So I'm thinking if they're doing playtests, with kind of these creator type peoples, that probably means that they have something past an alpha, something that they can kind of more confidently put together for them to play this time. So I'm thinking this upcoming Sony thing, which I think is in August or September, should be a pretty good window for when we get our next little piece of information. And then the next little thing I want to show, if you guys are looking for some sick wallpapers, okay? Jack Strider, I think Strider is what his like Twitter thing is, but he made these awesome posters for the original Marathon games. I think it was like kind of spurred on by the release of the classics on Steam. But he has the first one for Marathon here with the Durandal kind of transparency in the background's awesome. Oh, and then we got the Durandal. You got the Bobs. Probably this is Robert Blake, right? Who we were fighting up for last week. And then Marathon Infinity with the totally weird Dreamscape Skull security officer. So if you guys are looking for that, his art station is Jack B. And everything he posts on there is super sick. All right, and then the last thing I want to go over for Marathon related before we jump into this System Shock stuff is I had this concept, okay? So I'm going to give you guys a little sample here, and you can tell me if this is a trash idea or not. Okay, but I'm just going to read through this, and I'll kind of tell you where my mind's at, all right? So this is from Defend This, I believe. Oh, no, it's from The Rose, which is, let's see here. The Rose, a 5th level in the first Marathon game, okay? And this is a terminal about the historical context for the Martian Wars. So, although most historians point their fingers at the Mizrahi massacre as the cause of the Third Martian War, the coming of a Martian conflict was inevitable. The failure of the Martian economy and a long series of political struggles between Mars and Earth continually strengthened the MITA radicals. This trend of radicalization accelerated with the building of the Marathon and the subsequent failure of the Christs. See below. All right, Mizrahi massacre, and this is like a little brief description of that event. On January 6, 2345, at the United Earth Government Mizrahi Food Distribution Center, what had begun as a commonplace food riot turned into a massacre. The UEG riot troopers who arrived at the scene had been informed that the rioters were armed. As UEG troopers approached the scene in the Randall hover tank, plasma fire began spraying upwards. In a flash decision, the commander of the hover tank ordered his crew to open fire upon the crowd. It took only 5 seconds for over 500 starving Martians to be incinerated. In the ensuing investigation of the hover tank vidcams, it was clear that only 3 of the rioters were armed, and that the rest of the crowd was trying to flee the scene. Those 3 became known as the Mizrahi 3. They have gone down in history for starting the most destructive and bloody conflict since humanity had left Earth. However, it is clear that these 3 have gained the credit for starting a war that would have happened anyway. Okay. So, I think this inclusion is kind of put in here by, either Tycho or Leela or Durandal. Like one of these AI probably left this open, or maybe the SFIT were going through the history of, whatever they were like trying to figure out what was going on. But I think this was probably left by one of the AIs, kind of like a clue that maybe the, 10 Mjolnir cyborgs that were placed on board could have been placed there by MITA, or that MITA had put something on and there were MITA, sympathizers on board the original crew of the Marathon, which is something that's confirmed in the ARG text. All right, but when I read this, every time I get this this distinct feeling that this is like a concept for a metal album. Like this whole story is like something you would hear about like in an 80s, what's that anime? Think you find this in a secret room with a couple bobs. Yes, yeah, exactly. So there is like some lore about like kind of why this was on there, and obviously there's a search string here, so like they were trying to look up stuff about MITA, whoever implanted it. But every time I read this, I think of Heavy Metal. Maybe is the name of the movie. It's like this anime over the top, violence and women scantily clad. And every time I read this, I think of this as like this epic like metal album concept is all about like this tragedy of this Mizrahi massacre and this hardcore event. And so one of the concepts I've been toying with in terms of doing a video about is like putting together this kind of like runner radio thing where I do like a radio program in orbit of Tau Ceti, like about what's going on or something. Think like Fallout 3, you know, Three Dog, you know, the radio wasteland, stuff like that, or what you hear in Fallout New Vegas, Mr. New Vegas. Thinking about doing something like that for Marathon conceptually as this like radio station in orbit. And so I've been like kind of conceptualizing like, oh, what if this is one of the songs that we're playing? So like, what if a MITA sympathetic group made a song about the Mizrahi massacre? And so you guys can tell me if this is lame, but I used some AI generation to do a song about the Mizrahi massacre, and I'll let this play. I'll put a little visualizer on here where I generated some funny imagery. So you tell me, this is just a proof of concept. You tell me if the Mizrahi massacre would not make for the most excellent, badass, you know, metal concept album of all time. So I'm going to play this now for you guys. Here, I'll put it full screen for you.